There we go. Okay, so today's shorter module, warehouse operations is what they call this. Oversee the day-to-day operations of a warehouse function. So we've got a couple more warehouse modules, and we get into some more esoteric stuff. So quantifiable or key performance indicators can assist an organization in defining and measuring its progress, obviously. And of course, you want them to be quantifiable. And there's 5 primary activities in the warehouse. Or distribution center: receiving, put away, storage, pick and pack, and shipping. So KPIs for each of the primary warehouse activities are usually related to things like cost, productivity, utilization, quality, cycle time, etc. So here's some measures that can be used. Here's some ISM measures. There's some overlap between the two. But you can see receiving, put away, storage, pick and pack, shipping. And then here's some more stuff. Warehousing, benchmarking, receiving. This guy just talks about basically performance indicators for warehouses. All right. Staffing. So warehouse manager, he's overall responsible for managing the warehouse. The top guy. Match the background skills of each warehouse associate, which are people that work in the warehouse, with the required work, and communicate effectively to the warehouse associates and implement any performance evaluation system. The warehouse associate is responsible for, the 5 major areas: receiving, putting away, picking, packing, and final assembly. And the warehouse associates also expect to be computer literate, because you can't really do a job these days and not be computer literate. Because they're using barcodes, RFID, automated vehicles, all kinds of stuff in warehouses these days. And safety. Important concern due to the monotony of the work and the risk of injury. So whenever I go to a supplier, what I've noticed is if they show me their safety data at the beginning of their tour, they're very proud of it and they're doing a good job. If they don't show it to me or I can't find it on the bulletin board, it's because they don't want anybody to see it. Enough space between aisles to allow for material handling equipment to operate. There's a couple of videos on YouTube where the guy backs the forklift into one of these high racks and it just takes down all the racks in a domino effect in the entire warehouse. Proper training required. So you need a manual on how to do the job. Consider the following questions to prevent reoccurrence when accidents do occur. Is there a less risky option to complete the task? Should access to an area be prevented, and can exposure be reduced to the hazard? Is protective gear needed? No, we don't need that. Industry standards. So benchmarking, excellent way to improve various processes. Here's some stuff from the Warehousing Education Resource Council, otherwise known as WORK. So this is an article on, is this an article or is this a certification? No, this is a guide. You can buy this guide from these guys. And then they have a course from WORK on distribution logistics fundamentals. Layout design facilities, it's all about warehousing. And they also have these other courses. I think this is kind of these 2 courses put together. Other warehouse education, APICS, who goes by another name, but it used to be the American Production and Inventory Control Society, which is what APICS stands for. They do a logistics transportation distribution certification, which is like this one, although I think it's only one test of like 120 questions. It's centered on logistics over network supply, sustainability, planning, demand management, order management. So these guys come from an inventory background. This is really good for our logistics folks downstairs. And then the European Logistics Association. These guys would be what DOF would be interested in. And they have these courses. Whoops. They have these courses here. Logisticians, senior management level, strategic management level, regulatory compliance. So in the US, it's OSHA, and in the EU, it's also OSHA, but it's EU OSHA. Issue and enforce warehouse safety regulations. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, government organization created in the 60s. Used to be in the 30s when they were building the Golden Gate Bridge, you didn't have to wear any safety equipment, and they would have guys falling off that thing like daily. And then because it was during the Depression, they had a line of guys waiting to get jobs there, and they called that the vulture line because they were waiting for these guys to fall off the bridge. City building departments oversee building permits for planned warehouses as well as changes to warehouses. So you got to get permitted by the city, and fire departments also will inspect for safety. So you're not blocking the fire exits and dumb things like that. And then environmental concerns. So these are becoming more and more important with everybody in all facts of life. So carbon footprint, also known as greenhouse gas, is the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions expressed as CO2 equivalents, which are associated with an organization. It's basically how much CO2 are you producing. Uh, you can calculate a carbon footprint, and you can compare facilities with carbon footprints, replace lighting, use solar panels, all that good kind of stuff. If you want to know more about calculating a carbon footprint for your warehouse, of course, there's a website that will help you with it. So if you're interested, there you go. It'll tell you how to reduce it and how to measure it. E-grid emissions, which grid is the facility being measured located in? Is it a electric grid that gets all its electricity from coal-fired plants? Material handling equipment. Are you using propane or electricity, or are you using gasoline? Warehouse, office, and miscellaneous equipment. Have you measured all the equipment in the facility or just the equipment in the warehouse floor? What about copiers and all the other computers and stuff? Heating, cooling, and insulation. Do you have to apply a lot of heat because the insulation is so bad? Lighting. What's the wattage being used? Are you using incandescent bulbs? Or are you using fluorescent bulbs or some other eco-friendly version? And waste. How many tons of cardboard, plastic, and other waste sent to landfills instead of recycling? Because these warehouses get tons of cardboard. Physical inventory management. Supply management is responsible for acquiring stock. Inventory management is responsible for minimizing the cost of holding inventory. So the warehouse manager implements the inventory management policies. So you want to identify items that are fast movers or slow movers, and you want to place them in strategic locations around the warehouse. We'll cover that in the next module. You want to recommend safety stock policies based on your service capabilities. Are you going to tell them you don't have it on hand, or are you just going to make sure you always have enough on hand? Institute cycle counting policies. This is where you will pick a list of items to count every week. And if those are on, you don't have to do as many physical inventories. Disposition of stock that is not moving at all. What are you going to do with this stuff that's sitting on the shelf? You either got to return it to the seller, which is usually the most highest payback, even with the restocking fee. You can sell it to staff or external parties at a deep discount, usually like 10 cents on the dollar. Donate to charity if nobody wants it, and throw it in the trash. Security lacks results can result in missing inventory, which costs more for higher insurance premiums. Some ways to reduce shrinkage, which is stuff coming up missing. Using secured carousels and cages with restricted access for high value items, because that's usually the stuff that's going to go missing. Installing a security system, unannounced inspections, being vigilant, exterior lighting and cameras to prevent copper wire theft. So this is the biggest problem that PPD has with their distribution centers. So these guys will dig up the wires. I mean, they can have current going through them. They don't care. They're going to dig up the wires and steal them for copper. Data in the warehouse must also be protected. Passwords, security updates on a regular basis, real-time records of all inventory, either outbound or inbound, and conduct regular physical counts of inventory, or in lieu of that, cycle counting on a weekly basis that doesn't have a lot of errors in it. Maintenance. So you got a lot of specialized equipment in warehouses. If the equipment doesn't work, like it's pallets or forklifts, then you're going to have a hard time putting pallets away. Organizations usually purchase maintenance plans for specialized equipment, such as the lift trucks and the palletizers and the dock equipment. That's usually the best route to go. And preventive maintenance. So the operator has to write down, needs a detailed preventive maintenance plan, and then they need to be trained on it. Plan should be developed for all material handling equipment. And planned maintenance also means that a preventive maintenance checklist schedule is also obtained. So this is the ISM version of a PM checklist. So, it's 5S stuff and some common sense stuff. Warehouse managers should do periodic inspections of maintenance on the equipment, and the contingency plan should be in place in case there's a breakdown. All right. Which of the following is not one of the 5 primary warehouse activities? Any guesses?
I'd be leaning towards option C, standard costing.
Yeah, that's not I would say I'd agree with you. That's not a warehouse activity. Option C it is. Okay, one more here. AFAB, which stands for anything for a buck, is a high-end audio equipment maker. It's having difficulty in their warehouse operations. The new warehouse manager is faced with random location put away strategy that has pickers walking all over the warehouse to pick the orders, requiring more time than is necessary to pick. What is the first thing the new warehouse manager should do that will help the situation the most? Well, you can probably throw out C and D because those don't make a lot of sense.
Probably A.
That's what I'm thinking is the obvious answer, but something tells me it's probably B, just the way that ISM thinks. Let's see. Yep. What didn't they like about A? A is incorrect because this may help some in the long run, but fast-moving inventory is still all over the warehouse. Okay. So we'll go into warehouse layouts here tomorrow, I think. All right. So I think there's 7 questions out there on the chat. So why don't you guys go ahead and get on them, and we can go over answers at about 353 or 2. Raise your hand when you get done with them. Yeah, I'm in here. I'll catch up with you. All right, let's go over some answers here. Number 1 is alpha. Because percent location without inventory errors and inventory days on hand both measure storage in the warehouse. 2 is delta. Work has both a process benchmark and best practice guidelines and a warehouse certification program. 3 is Bravo. Piece of industrial equipment or electrical appliance operating at a facility in one area of the country is going to account for considerably different levels of greenhouse gas than the same appliance operating in another. And that's because of coal-fired power plants creating the electricity mostly. And 4 is alpha. Cycle counting program will help a few items. We'll count a few items per week and compare them to the inventory records. 5 is Charlie. Looking for an answer that does not belong. So getting a third-party assessment of your warehouse is never a bad idea, but it's not one of the 4 questions you'd ask yourself. 6 is alpha. Having an exterior lighting and camera, the police will have something to go on. Okay. And 7 is Bravo. Preventive maintenance plan will detail how and what, when, and where the maintenance on the equipment should take place. All right. That's all I got for you guys today.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. See ya.